Okay.
Do the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go.
Anybody got any questions? I mean, it's definitely been made a few modifications from our original workshop there. There's really no major changes. The only one, probably the biggest change, is because of the deputies. They get a higher capers rate, and I did not have the higher rate figured in the first time. So we had to raise the employee benefits of that to compensate for that. Plus, also there was a couple other departments because of the higher workman's comp rate because of the difficulty of their job was higher than the state standard. And so we modified those to reflect that. Some of them didn't affect too much. The sheriff's was the biggest thing. Because I think the difference in Caper's contribution, Bill, I don't know whether you're aware, but they were, what do they call it, KP&M. Standard is about 9.4, 9.5 Capers, and our deputies and sheriffs, they get, it's almost 22% is what we have to pay, so.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so much straight across.
Yeah, no. And it's like I said, there's a different, little different levels for each, degree of difficulty of the job. Maintenance, they get a little higher rate, subject to work accidents. Any office is pretty standard.
What's the treasurer's benefits significantly?
Well, it budget is up, and it's up, down. It's down too. Or when you compare it to 2013, it's down. Well, this is the question that never really got answered, is that in 13, the benefits for MVT were taken out of the treasurer's fund, and that budget's for that, so. Yeah, 13 doesn't show their percentages. Well, that's because the benefits were included in the salaries and stuff, and so, yeah, but it was part of it. It was 90,000 in 2013, I believe, because I had the audited.
Well, employee benefits didn't really come out of departments until this year.
Right, till this year.
Oh, no, 2013.
They was, yeah,
2013.
yeah,
13, I think we put them in each
Yeah.
department.
but they were all listed under personal service.
Oh, they were? Okay.
They was combined, I mean, so the salary and the benefits were all included in the same. And then this year it was broke out on the benefit side. And that,
For 14.
Yeah, for 14, each line item had, or each department had their own line item for the benefits and stuff, so. Thank goodness we got 2 or 3 departments that don't take health insurance. It's not the cheapest thing to buy.
How come IT's up 10,000 benefits?
Because West thought he'd have it, but they did not budget for Roger on his, and so.
It's ITGIS.
IT WGIS
Yeah,
altogether.
for-
So,
I thought Roger was gonna get his through his wife, through the school system.
it's not the way that, he's just a single, so it's that part that'd be something for up for discussion as far as that goes, but, that was, emergency management, there was, they didn't have, I think the rescuers don't get any health benefit, but they have they got a little higher workman's comp rate, and of course, then West does too, as far as that goes. Next year, and part of the reason there's a little bit of an increase there is that last year, part of Wes's was taken out of emergency management and part of it out of IT. Next year, all his health benefit will come out of emergency, it'll simplify the bookkeeping. Same way with Connie, where she's split two ways. Next year, I adjusted her budget, to reflect her total benefits coming out of office leave, because that's her primary job. So essentially, that Wes is in emergency management, Wes is the only one that has a health benefit. The first responders rescue, they only get paid, of course, when they go out, but you still have to do the capers and stuff. But their workman's comp is I think they're 3%, a little 3%, versus your average office person, like clerical, commissioners, workman's comp is 0.3%.
But they don't, on this emergency thing, they don't qualify for benefits, but they qualify for workman's comp?
Well, capers and all that stuff, that has to come out, FICA and stuff, yeah. It don't amount to a whole lot, you know. They don't work, they're only on call.
Yeah, they're like still classified as like volunteers, so they show up and they get paid. It's like still a volunteer based service.
23, West budget is about 23,000. I mean, that's the total, what he pays all year for those guys.
But I still can't see how you could take it, not supplying with benefits if you're gonna give workman's comp.
Pretty sure it's required to have workman's
Yeah,
comp.
we have
Yeah.
to supply workman's comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and we do, I mean, that's figured in the budget.
And we have to pay them we do have to pay them out of payroll, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to include that in our workman's.
Yeah,
Do they
we
get
can't-
insurance?
No,
Mhm.
because they're not considered full-time.
Yeah.
They're not even classified as part-time.
You know, there's like 15 or so of them, they're kind of on call, they take, and some of them make more calls than others. and stuff like that.
I think there were more than 15, weren't
There could be more.
Yeah, something like this, 20 or so. Not everybody necessarily responds, but, and everybody has different levels of certification.
I mean, there's some guys on there, even a paramedic, and some of them just a first responder, they really have no EM, you know, so if they got to the scene first, they really couldn't provide any medical service per se.
Okay, now, going back to them, are they covered under liability?
They're being caked,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah, they'd be covered to be property casualty liability. Yeah,
Just so they're covered?
Yep.
yeah, we have to.
Yeah. We made a few adjustments on the, Patsy was there, and this income side is really the hard, as you guys remember when we were going through that, it's one of the hardest things to predict and stuff. We made a few adjustments on. And as you'll notice, if you go back and check past years, this, I call it the outside projected income, is beginning to drop. fees, particularly the mortgage registration fee is causing some, in 5 years, it'll essentially be gone. 2013, we collected $140,000, and,
Yes, I don't know what thinks about that.
I know Donovan County, when they budgeted that, I think, according to their, I said on the kneecap boys, CPA that does theirs, it sounds like they just went ahead and decided to take most of the hit the first year so that they would be prepared. I tried to figure just a projection here that I think the first year is 20%, and the second year is another 20%. It goes on for 5 years till it's all gone. Now, they're supposed to be allowed to charge a per page fee or something like that, so there will be possibly a little income to make up some of that, but let's face it, the day we go paperless and that's gone, so we got to condition the constituents that that fee is going to be gone in another 3.5, 4 years.
She'll have subscriber fees if she does it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have some subscriber fees, so.
So how much did the annual budget go up this year?
Expenditures, actually were probably, the difference, the expenditures were actually lower, but because our unencumbered balance was, it took me a while to get this all processed, but if you start with a high encumbered balance, then you don't have to tax as much, and so last year, even though expenses were a little higher encumbered balance, it didn't show that, the property tax levy didn't have to change much at all. But this year, because the unencumbered balance was so much less, and even though we lowered expenses, it still required a slight increase in the levy. Otherwise, if you look at the actual expenditures, they're down about $500,000.
Now, explain that, you missed me there on that.
Well, we probably ought to do this during the hearing if they have questions, let's take, rather than discuss it now. So we can discuss it after, Charlie, but it's very much, it's in depth there, but that's.
Yeah, we should. So,
Yeah,
well, let's go into public hearing, we'll go into public hearing. So I'd entertain a motion to go into, public hearing for 2015 budget.
Well, we're republishing, aren't we, so all we have to do is just, we don't even need to go into hearing.
Yep. No, sorry, we have to, we have to vote to accept,
Yes.
budget for publication and then set hearing date.
And then we'll set a hearing date, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the proposed, budget as prepared by Patsy Porter's firm, I believe that we would present it for the republication, hopefully to get it in Saturday's paper. And I would like to move our meeting date to October the 8th, from the 7th. I think the 8th would be the first date that would meet the 10-day publication, and then have the public hearing on October the 8th. Would you verify with that? Huh?
8th is on a Wednesday.
That'll work.
October 8th.
If it's on Wednesday, that works.
That's a Wednesday.
That'll work.
No, that would give you the,
Would that meet, that should meet it, should it? Okay.
at what time, 5:30, 1:15?
1:15, yeah, that's what we had, the one yesterday.
So are you still having your meeting on October 7th too, or do you?
No, I would like to move have a regular meeting just on, so that, if that's okay. Is that
Six
what
would,
we-
yeah,
6 would.
6 would be 10 days.
Yeah, but this one would be posted on Saturday, this won't get moved.
So you don't count that as one?
Why can't you count Saturday, that's a published day, right? It technically would go
10
out
days from
Friday.
publication. 10 days from.
From publication, so it's gotta be, yeah. I don't know, I had it figured the 8th,
Okay.
do we say?
Anyway, it's kind of a regular meeting following, or
said 10 days from, excluding 27th, that would
That'd
push you.
be fine, I won't be here, but you won't be me.
Well, let's see, what is, the 27th, so there's 1, 2, 3. 7th is day 10,
Hmm.
so I guess it would qualify. So we can go ahead and we can still have it on the 7th, that's fine. That's still fit, you definitely, okay.
Unless you had some, I didn't know if you had something that was a conflict on, so.
No, I just was making sure we allowed the, flight and aid, so that we, meet.
So are you wanting it on the 7th?
So,
7th, 5, with me.
is that a motion?
Yeah, I move, yes, second.
Motion is second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Further discussion. I really don't support increasing the mills more. I think that we have room to trim from the budget instead of increasing the mills even further. That's just my opinion. So motion carries 2-1.
No.
You just voted.
We just voted.
What else do we have? You have any questions for us?
Well, the only question, what's the Kansas statute date on budgets? Your county budget was supposed to be submitted by a certain date.
There is no actual statute.
No, second.
Mhm.
It's just a ruling or a rule that they want them in by the 25th.
Of August.
They'd like to have them in there.
As long as the county clerk, I mean, they can extend it as long as the county clerk knows.
Okay.
And you still have you gotten, wasn't there like a township that you still hadn't, have you got?
I finished those, I still got a couple of cemeteries that forget.
There's still a couple of taxing entities that still have that stuff in, so, not sure why, but.
Well, they forget, I send them letters and then they put it aside. It's the little one.
It's real difficult, I'm not exactly sure why counties go off of calendar year for fiscal year, because the state is July 1 to end of June. It would make more sense if we were lined up with the state. I'm not sure that's in statute, why we have to do that, or as far as the calendar year, I'm not exactly sure why they do that, to be honest with you. I don't know, that's something that's probably been forever, I guess. That would make the most sense, since we're dependent on state funding formulas, and they
Have
can.
it all tied together.
Yeah, well, perfect example is community corrections. Our community corrections department, majority of the funding comes through the state corrections department, and they can change that budget where we're already mid-budget cycle. So if they say, well, we're cutting it and by 50%, then we're stuck with midstream here, so. We haven't had that happen, but it's a possibility, I guess.
So now, on the budget that you were going over, and maybe this was discussed in some of these other workshops or something, that I've been here. But did all three of you work on the budget, or Mike? Mike seems to be the only one that has made any comments about making any changes with Patsy Porter and everything.
We all did the basic, I just had, the benefits, where we run into an issue was on the benefits side. I mean, pretty much everything else has stayed the same, and then there was an issue on one of the revenue sides, the estimation. We had to lower the estimation on the revenue because there was almost a double entry, you might say, on the first, of some income coming in, and so we caught that and needed to change that. And then the benefits, we knew we needed to relook at that. We got a call was actually pretty lucky. The benefits provider called and said, well, he said, he first scared us, he said, well, your rates may go up 15%, but he said, I'm gonna talk, and I said, what? And,
That's on health insurance.
health insurance alone, well, it ended up only going up 5, but then there's 4.1% tax on all insurance policies goes into effect next year
Affordable
because
Care
of Affordable Care Act. So it don't matter whose policy it is, they're gonna get another 4% raise. So, the better policy, the higher policies are gonna get done a lot more than, a family policy, it costs us about $1,150, $1,200 a month, so that's another $50-something a month for a family plan. Just for that tax alone.
And you just, in the last few months, say from probably the first of the year, you've changed insurance companies, is that right?
Yeah, it was beginning of this year, beginning of this year, changed carrier.
And was there a reason for that?
We were having issues with the state of Kansas on releasing our data. We were under the state of Kansas they offer to pools of other governmental entities like non-state employee plan. We were restricted on what we could do and what we couldn't do under that plan, as well as the rates. I talked about that budget cycle year. That was the hardest part of that was they could raise they could increase our amount 5-10%, which is uncommon what they've done the last few years. And that would happen. That would go into effect like basically July 1. They would set. There were two increases they could implement. One would be like January 1, the other one would be like July 1. So we were really restricted on what we could and couldn't do within that plan.
This healthcare thing is gonna it don't matter what kind of plan that you get to. It appears that they're pushing everyone to go to the federal exchange. I mean, as many as they can. I mean, it's really, I talked to a lot of people. Talked to a lady yesterday, her sister got kicked off her plan because of the Affordable Care Act.
But really, was the changes made in the insurance basically made because of the expense?
That and lack of flexibility of the
Yeah.
plan. And I think when it's all said and done, we're just barely in the first year, Charlie, so I'm not gonna make any, there appears to be the first years, there'd be some decent savings, but now that some of this other stuff comes in the second year, it's gonna eat up some of those savings. But at the same token, this is what they call a health savings account. They started 20-some years ago, called them medical savings accounts, and I just about bought into it because I thought it was a good idea, because you can put money into a health savings account to like pay for a doctor visit or something like that, and it's tax-free. And so what we're doing is the individuals and or spouse, family, whatever, gets money from the county to put in that savings account, and that's pre-tax money. If they use it, fine. If they don't use it, it's theirs to keep. It doesn't go to the insurance company.
So this is identical to the city.
Different cover, yeah.
But I guess, having been with railroad unions and stuff and negotiating contracts and stuff, it seemed like from different ones that I talked to as county employees and stuff, did you guys even confront those employees about, I know what you're saying, you're doing the cuts because of the cost to the county, but did you go to those employees and even talk to them about maybe, and explain to them what the situation was and where the problems was, and ask them if they would be willing, or if they wanted to keep their insurance, and if they were willing to possibly pay more to keep that benefit? Because the understanding that I'm getting from out here amongst communities is the benefits are not the same. they've lost a lot of benefits from you guys making these changes.
Actually, they increased,
They increased.
the HSA alone reduces their taxable income, plus it's money that they can use, or if they don't use it, I mean, it's,
But that's not, Jeff, that's not your decision. That's their decision. That should not be your decision when you consider their health insurance.
well, we've had an employee benefits committee, you know, for at least the last 3 years.
They're the ones,
and
they're
they
the
had
ones that,
input.
when I first came on, that committee was active, and they were looking at that time about getting a firm to rebid and change insurance. Yeah, so it's been going on, Charlie, yes.
Well, it's good that you brought that up, because that was what was brought up to me. These are none of the recommendations that the committee made.
Well,
These are none of the committee's recommendations.
And, yeah, that's the thing, that we have to make that, I mean, that ultimately falls on us, right, you know.
But going back to my first question, or my question ahead of that, did you go to the employees and offer them the opportunity to make that decision?
Individually?
As groups, because that was another thing that when we were addressing this other issue that we were talking about earlier, that supposedly there's heads of departments, and those heads of departments knew about this, and then they told me, they said, this was never ever mentioned to me. I found out by one of my employees. So that's the question I'm asking. Did you go to the different departments?
They were on, each department had a right to be on the committee.
Yeah, most had a representative on that committee. It may not necessarily have been the department, some departments had like an appointed person from their,
Okay, but was there any
No.
scheduled meetings? Was there any scheduled meetings to go out and meet with, well, say, Senior Village, the nursing home, Road and Bridge, Sheriff's Department, Law, any of those? Was there any meeting scheduled to go meet with those groups of people?
well, I mean, what we relied upon,
Not the whole group, but, like I said.
the representatives from each department were responsible for relaying what their findings were. Most were department head or elected officials on that committee, so you rely upon them to relay what their decisions and meetings were.
Well, it just sounds like somebody dropped the ball someplace there.
There's never perfect communication, unfortunately, in everything. I mean, I think what we found, talking with most employees here since we've gotten on this plan, there's been a lot of positive comments about, I think there's a lot of, it's really difficult to educate everybody on, because it's a different style plan than what most have, but, if you talk with most, carriers representatives, I mean, these are the type of plans that a lot of companies, it's a big trend going to.
The state of Ohio is switched their health plans to
Now-
savings account, the state of Ohio.
Okay, now, where is your representative from that presented this program to you? Or this?
Wichita, it's a company called Gallagher
Okay.
Benefits.
How did you get familiar with that?
So the
But
committee-
they're one of like three that the committee,
Interviewed.
one of the three that the committee interviewed. They interviewed, 3 different firms, I believe.
3 different firms, and they've been, and based upon, I just was new that year, Charlie, on, and that committee, recommended, there was 3 of them, and they took, another company at first to do it, called Hayes, I think it was.
Yeah, Hayes Companies.
And they couldn't perform, part of it was because of the difficulty, the state was just impossible to work with. And I talked to some people at the state, and the excuse they give is they can't give out information because it's HIPAA, well, that's not exactly true. They can give out the history information as long as you don't have the name and stuff on there. But they can charge us $500 to get information that was our history and stuff. But anyway, to make a long story short, and this other company says, I don't think we're gonna do you any good, and this guy stepped forward and he said that he wanted to see what he could do. And so,
I think at the end of the year, Charlie, there is gonna be maybe a handful of employees that it didn't work out good this year, but over the long run, and the majority of employees, they're gonna see the benefit of this health savings.
I talked to.
Now, is that their views or your views?
That's
Those,
that's
yeah, I mean,
but they-
is that your opinion or as a committee, or is that their opinion?
But we haven't been in long enough for them to get their opinion, but that's my opinion from
Your
doing the
experience.
same kind of plan with the LJC, the experience. The first year, the employees was hesitant, the second year, it's not so bad, third year, they absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
I've had 2 people that approached me and they like it.
We really haven't been into, we've probably heard, from the ones that, the handful that I'm talking about that might slip through the crack this first year. But at the end of the year, they will be able to see, those particular ones won't, but the majority of employees will buy into it.
In all honesty, Charlie, and I can't mention the employee's name, but they had a surgery, and this plan, it sounded like, $2,500 deductible down high. But at the end of the day, because of that health savings account, after the deductible was met, they saved money because the old plan, you still had to pay 80/20 after you met the 500, whatever deductible. You still had to pay 80/20 up to what?
Deductible co-insurance.
Yeah,
So the surgery, it was a major surgery. The major surgery ended up costing her a lot less than it would have.
Once you meet your deductible, it pays 100% of everything.
100%.
Medicine, your office calls, everything. When I'm talking about the ones that are falling through the crack are the ones that get up to maybe 4,000. They don't make the threshold of $5,000 deductible. And there's gonna be.
So you're holding an employee, responsible for a $5,000 deductible?
No, that's a family, but if an individual,
Yeah, but how much is it then? You've got to have, as far as I know on insurances that I've negotiated before, you've got to have the individual.
Yeah, so
Now you got you have a group deductible or a family deductible,
correct.
household deductible, we should say,
Mhm.
and then you have an individual. What's the individual?
Individual's 2,500, and so once an individual, even if they're on a family plan, hits 2,500, they're covered at 100%.
Okay, and what's the cap?
3 million. I think it's, under the Affordable Care Act, I don't think there's a cap.
As far as like max liability in a year,
Care, yeah.
oh gosh,
I think the Affordable Care Act would get away with the cap.
Hmm.
I'd have to look at that, it's like millions, I believe.
It'd be at least, any plan that I ever looked at before, because I used to have to shop around myself, but 3 million is usually.
It's $1 million plus, I couldn't tell you the exact amount, it's a pretty common amount.
Well, in fact, the company that's the underwriter right now, Coventry, I had before I even came on as commissioner, and it was 3 million. The first year, there was only $1 million, they raised it to 3 million. And it was a $3,000 deductible for a husband and wife. But it wasn't a health savings account because it was just, we just paid that monthly, premium.
But again, of course, you're getting back into that health savings account deal, which it basically just benefits the county.
Not necessarily, I mean,
Well, tax-wise.
it benefits the employees too, it reduces their taxable income.
Well,
Probably in 3 or 4 years, there won't be that much savings, total savings, In other words, I'm just looking here, depends on what, of course, we don't have enough history for them to give us, even a little bit better rates yet. But if our history continues to be good, we should see rates stay the same, or there's a possibility they could, I should never say could go down, because they hardly ever do with the way that the healthcare system's working, it probably won't. Probably the biggest benefit is going to definitely be, and it's any health plan is this way, is that if you don't use it very much, and you've got $2,000 or $2,500 left in your savings account that is yours. Whereas before, that money would have been part of the premiums the county paid and it went to the health insurance company, it was gone. And I could take you to some people right now that are just smiling because they hardly ever go to the doctor. And they're talking, and that money, they're gonna have it. You know, that's not to say tomorrow something drastic wouldn't happen, but $2,500 is a catastrophic, and most of your healthcare exchanges, they're even higher than that.
But if they get through that first year, the second year, they got 5,000 in account, they're not gonna come out of pocket money then.
Well, with the HSA accounts, we're contributing $1,500 per individual employee, $2,000 for any other plan outside of that, and then they have the option to earn an additional $500. So really, you know, even with the savings, we were still able to contribute a majority of that threshold they would have to meet. So they're meeting individual, that's pretty much most of their deductible right there. That's what they're, with the contributions.
Yeah, I realize you work for the railroad and be thankful because they have all the good benefits. I've found visiting around that very few businesses offer anything close to what we offer. Even whether it's a health savings account, whether it's a Blue Cross, state plan for Blue Cross, Blue Shield, you're only obligated to take care of, you're only obligated under the law to do the employee. That's
Now,
it.
is this policy you got, do you have HMOs on this? No HMOs, they can go any place they want to.
As long, well, they gotta be on the list, but it's pretty different.
They can go to anybody they want, there's in-network,
Yeah, network stuff.
discount, and then if you wanna go to somebody, you can't go to somebody out of network, it's gonna be typically a little bit higher, but, you know, it's not a health medical
Then will the
organization.
insurance pay for that?
Yeah.
When they go out of network?
Correct, it's a percent, I'm trying to think,
It's a little higher, but
it's higher than an in, most are in-network, I mean, around the area, we've got several, depending on what you're looking at.
your exchanges, I've been told on, because I have a friend that was shopping around because they didn't have insurance or lost their insurance because his wife quit her job, and they got shopped around. They got shopped.
A lot of the same doctors are on this plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
90% might be out high.
Now, the original was Blue Cross and Blue Shield?
Actually, the state plan had like multiple carriers that you could sign up for. Blue Cross Blue Shield was one, Coventry preferred, obviously, I don't know. Like there were like 3 major carriers.
Well, but the thing it is, it's only about 3 or 4 carriers anyway anymore as far as that goes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
What else? Talk about HR director?
Okay, if you want to.
Okay. We did, went through our selection process and panel interviews, all 3 panels, I had a unanimous choice, or had a tier of candidates.
And they explained the panels.
Huh?
We had an employee panel, commissioner panel, and an outside panel, and the outside panel consisted of Jennifer, HR person at BC, Wes Leonard's wife was HR person for 409, and Nathan Everline from KBC. He were on the expert panel with on.
Kansas Association of County, he works in the office there.
We made an offer to Janie Madison, who's a local resident of Atchison County, and she's accepted the HR director position, and she plans on starting October 13th.
Now, I noticed there was a deal in the paper here 2 or 3 weeks ago was talking about this HR deal. And you were referring to a lot of the different counties that was mentioned in there. Sedgwick County, some of those, Johnson County, some of those. How did you arrive at deciding to hire an HR person for the size of Atchison County?
I personally heard from 8 to 10 employees that when we was talking about the county coordinator, that's the position, they said that we're big enough that we should have, keep up on the benefits, and that's how this all started.
even the benefit guy said that there are more counties and even small businesses having to hire an HR person. I mean, they may do some other jobs too. In 2016, when the Affordable Care Act really gets into full swing, there's going to be a lot of audits. I mean, you're going to have your paperwork in order because there'll be auditors that they're going to be in here checking and making sure that your insurance policy meets their standards.
But again, don't you think that you could take and hire a firm, outside firm, for just part-time, or be available, I should say, be available?
You mean outsource it?
Yes, then cheaper. Now, what's an HR person what's that wage out there?
For her starting wage would be, starting salary would be $43,500.
So you don't think you could take and outsource that job cheaper than put somebody in a position, and all you're doing is just continuing to add to the budget?
No, this doesn't really mean, it's not.
Well, it's an expense, Mike.
It's
It's an expense the county's gonna pay.
Exactly. It's an expense you're gonna pay if you don't have the service either, because nobody can get the information they need, so.
So what's the action been done with this county coordinator deal?
So,
We haven't refilled that position.
Do you think that needs to be filled?
I mean, at this point, I mean, like Bill said, talking with multiple employees, they felt that there was a stronger need to have somebody with, some HR duties and background on site, to answer their questions, be able to handle stuff like payroll especially. I mean, we've had 2-3 employees working on payroll every time we do it. So, I mean, it's tying up other personnel, handling some of the duties. Not that they can't, it's just that takes them away from their other duties as well.
Well, I mean, if they're able to do it with their other duties, why would you want to bring somebody else in and put that in there? So in other words, when you put an HR person in there, you're going to make a whole lot of new changes again. That person's not going to be happy with the existing plans. You're just constantly making a big roll.
I'm not exactly following you on that,
Well, I mean, you're bringing in an HR person that's going to be involved with some of this other issues, right? So, now that person has got a whole new idea about what we're doing that's been done in the past, which, for years, until even before you brought this coordinator in here, it seemed like everything was fine, absolutely fine, going on, no problems. You brought this coordinator in here, and you all three of you agreed upon this coordinator. And all we've had from the time the coordinator was hired, all we've had is turmoil. All the county has had is nothing but turmoil.
I'm not really calling you on turmoil, like defining.
Well, I mean, problems, in the banking, problems in just everything, bills being paid, bills not being paid, and taxes and everything. So, I mean, how can you say there's not been turmoil?
Are you saying some of that hadn't happened before?
Nothing like this.
Can you say nothing like that had happened before?
As far as my knowledge, yes.
Okay, then you need to get educated.
Well, then apparently that's where we're running into problems like with the Globe and the radio station. They're not here.
First hand is better than second hand.
Okay. But,
Press is always notified at meetings. It's an open meeting, so
Yeah.
I mean.
but, that was something else that kind of got me too. I sat in meetings up here, and stuff was discussed. Then I listened to the radio announcement, which was either given their information by Mike or by you, Jeff, and there was two different deals there together, altogether, that was mentioned. And that's the reason I don't understand why the Globe, I mean, this is all public notice.
I'm only occasionally, questioned by the Globe, and I don't know where they get their information on meetings, but they occasionally ask me, I don't know if they.
When I first came on, Mary, they was up here for a regular, but because of their job, we were told that they weren't allowed up here when they were certain, because they weren't only allowed up here a certain amount of time, and that's what we were told, so. They're invited, they know.
And that's as far as,
We can't,
Yeah.
whoever
they're not hired by you.
Correct.
I mean,
But
that's.
we have, the meetings are, following reports, minutes, and any action that's formally taken, but the vote is recorded in the minutes. The meetings are all taped, and it may be 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how long it takes to get them off there, on there, but they are available. Have you seen it, have you viewed them or not,
What?
any of the meetings?
I watched some of them,
Okay.
I don't.
It's not the clear, don't count on, you don't hear it the fast.
Well, the thing that I noticed about the meetings, okay, is, like you said, you're recording them, but whether it's the microphones or whatever it is, it doesn't come across clear. It's very poorly, it's very poorly.
This has been
designed.
it's a difficult room to do it. It was not designed probably for the best.
Well, I think the microphones need to be repositioned or something, because, like I said, with the other, when I was involved with all the other stuff, we had investigations and stuff, those microphones in those rooms are set or designed, you can hear a pin drop in those rooms. And, it's just like these, they're there, but
These are obsolete, basically. They were somewhat, our IT guy, they looked into redoing the sound for it, and they said they were obsolete probably not so long after their.
But, then you just brought up that, it just seems like the county itself is just, we're trying to make Atchison County the same as Johnson County, and we're trying to make the city of Atchison, and the city management is trying to make it Lenexa. And, we just don't have the tax base, we don't have the jobs, we just don't have that here to be able to achieve that. And that's like, you're bringing in IT people, HR people, then you brought in a county coordinator, and then that really made turmoil. Why can't it just go back to being original? Why are we trying to make such big steps? We're just trying to step so high so fast.
Times have changed drastically. We're heavily dependent upon computer systems more and more, internet speeds. Our roles as county government have changed drastically. It's not just about roads and bridges anymore. We've got a huge amount of other infrastructure that we're responsible for now in services. We're basically an arm of the state. We're doing services that the state of Kansas cannot provide, as well as the main tax collection point for the state of Kansas. Things have just changed drastically. It's what used to take a week for something to change now happens in 24 hours or less. And we've got a lot of unfunded mandates too. We've seen a trickle down effect, not only from the federal level but from the state, that we still have to provide set services and provide those in due manner. Just like AMDOS is a perfect example. Counties are held responsible to provide services for indigents, people that can't afford to get themselves to a hospital or medical care.
That, we took a.
Well, I can understand that, that's government, everything is.
And I understand your concern and stuff. These are things that you kind of learn when you go visit other counties. that are facing some of the same, I mean, they're counties like us, I mean, they're having to change kind of with the times to keep up with some things and stuff. It's not that, I don't look at it as trying to be a model of Johnson County, there is no way. I really don't want to be like Johnson County, I mean, they require a lot of their income, is property tax, but 12% of their budget was on this mortgage registration fee, because they have so many houses that have.
Well, that's like, and that's true. That's just like for, well, 3 of us, 4 of us. You know, you're gonna see, because of the different state laws that's on farmland, you're gonna see a tremendous amount, we're gonna see a tremendous amount of difference in tax on this farm ground.
Yeah, we don't set, I mean, the state sets that.
But, you know, but that's that part of it. But, you know, there's other people that we just don't have the income in the city, the jobs, and the retirement, so much of it's here is retirement anyway. I mean, they're either fixed incomes or retirements, you know, or drawing some kind of aid. So.
Well, we can't necessarily change that. I mean, that doesn't lighten your services that you have to provide. But there's no doubt, I mean, that was the biggest shock when I first came on with the volunteers, and they said, you need to go to this meeting. Well, the volunteers at Effingham, used to be a volunteer service down at Effingham, and they basically wanted to disband. And the hospital was subsidizing, the county really wasn't paying enough to keep the thing, very viable. And so they all wanted out. Well, luckily they agreed to stay on 1 more year till we could get kind of organized and get a company that would come in and outsource it, for the initial start of it, with the idea we'll keep the equipment so that, because it's been outsourced years ago. I mean, it's changed hands several times, and I mean, it's used way more in the city, don't get me wrong, but when you stop and think, those of us in the rural area, that's the only means that we've got of possibly surviving an incident till you can get them to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
There's no doubt about the ambulance services, emergency services throughout the county. It's very important. I mean,
When you brought up like IT, one of the value of having IT, I'll pick on our phone systems. They look like a typical phone, but we typically in the past have spent $5,000 to $6,000 a month on phone from long distance to typical service. Now we're spending about $1,200 a month. So we're going to see paybacks on that system within less than 5 years. So that's the value of having people like that.
then, you brought up IT, and I'd forgotten all about this, but this was brought up to me here just the other day, is, when you was talking about, Lana was talking about doing all these changes with the radio, and I forgot the different
so
codes.
that's joint communications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he realize that made a change in all these rural fire department radio equipment?
Yeah,
None of
they're
it's right
involved.
now?
They are involved in the conference. They're involved on the panel.
Well, anyway, they were upset because of this change. All the radio equipment's gonna have to be changed. And they just bought this brand new stuff. The particular fire department I was with, they said, yeah, now they've implemented all this thing and our radio equipment's no good now.
Well, it's not officially implemented. This is just what the joint communications committee is working on. And they're just getting the bids in now to see, but it's supposed to,
But now, okay, if it's not been put into place, if this is gonna affect everybody, why would you wanna implement that? Why would you want to implement it if it's working now? And, you know, that's like this one deal, I remembered that particular thing the day that Lana was talking about those. There was three different phases, or three different things he was talking about, and I don't remember the names, you know, they just came and they went. Okay, one of them has to do with putting an emergency thing on your phone if a bridge is closed. Now, how important is that? Really? How important, if there's a detour on a road or something, how important is that to have that service?
That's
For
just,
Acton County?
actually,
It's
it's
just
a
a
pretty,
maintenance service.
yeah, that's just one example. The key thing is about that is if there's a tornado in proximity of you, it's gonna go to your phone, no matter if it's
No,
online or.
that was on a different side of it. That was on a different side.
That's the
He
same
used-
system.
Yeah, red something, red.
Code red.
Code red.
Yeah.
It's the same system, it does a whole bunch of different things, notifies.
But you were paying for each one separately.
Not that I know of. It's
Well,
all
that's the
system.
way he submitted it.
Well, I mean, I think he was telling you the way, how many things it was covering.
But, you know, I can understand the tornado, I can understand, and first of all, like the bridges and stuff, the road closing, detours and stuff like that, if there was an issue like that, that would go out to the emergency side of it. The ambulances and the the sheriff's department's already gonna know that. But why would the whole public have to know?
If you had a detour, I mean, and it's not just, you know, us, if state has a detour or something like that, it could send out notice to anybody that's subscribed to it, has it on their phone. It's just kind of the way that the world works. I mean, it's something that, you know, at least lets you know instead of, you know, going down a road where the bridge is gonna be closed for a month or two. I mean, it would save you that headache. That's just, I can just use that as an example. I mean, it can, the primary use is for like emergency situations, like like a disaster, like a flood or a grain elevator exploding or, you know, some major catastrophe is the primary route of it.
Okay.
Getting back to the radio system, we have spots in the county now where the sheriff can't get hold of his deputies. And that that radio system in 2 years is gonna be gone.
Yeah, next gen.
Next gen, yeah, the state's gonna be coming out with a, next generation 911 kind of requirement that everybody's gonna have to go to. And the radio that they're discussing now would be the upgrade that should meet that pretty easy.
And that's not ours, I mean, that's the committee. We truly we revived the Joint Communications Committee, expanded it to include people like rural fire departments. Any user on that system has been to the table, and so what's nice about the system is it won't cost taxpayers any additional funding. There's no property tax whatsoever that's funding for that.
Sales tax right now,
Like it was designed.
that's what the sales tax was supposed to be used for,
Yeah.
so that'll be funded.
Now, you're talking about sales tax, and I get this, you know, being out there, I get this thrown up here all the time, or asked this. And so, the sales tax issue that had to do with trash, can you explain that? Supposedly, the sales tax was collected and everything, the money was collected, and that was supposed to be for communications, and it was supposed to be used for trash or solid waste, you know, this 1%, I believe that they referred to it. But
But
anyway,
the
the
county-
money was collected and everything, but then the money was used for something else. Or the money has been distributed and on to something else rather than the issue of this trash thing that's going on now.
Back in late 19, you know, after it's been on 7, 8 years, the tax revenue started gaining and there was more money collected. There were agreements, I mean, when they signed it back in 93, 20-some years ago, every